Yes, sir.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Grulich, and I'm going to talk about how we are trying to improve the Qt situation in GNOME desktop. So let me introduce myself. I work in the Red Hat desktop team, where I mostly maintain KDE and Qt on Rail, and I also contribute to Qt and KDE upstream. And when I joined Red Hat, I also started contributing to KDE. So I'm KDE developer since I work for Red Hat, and the stuff I do there is related to Network Manager. So I wrote the new Plasma Network Management applet, and the stuff I do now mostly is Flatpak integration. So I wrote the KDE backend, the implementation of Flatpak portals. But why I'm here now is because we now have more desktop. We have GNOME, we have KDE. Each of them prefers a different toolkit, and each toolkit and desktop have usually different style and look. And why? Because developers know that, and when you develop, for example, application for GNOME in GTK, you know you target your system, your desktop, so you know the application will look good. But there are actually users who might use your applications on a different desktop. So the user usually doesn't care what toolkit or desktop he uses. Just want the application to fit into the whole ecosystem. He doesn't want to have his application to end up like this little duck who doesn't belong to the group of the other applications. So because to solve this problem, Qt has pretty good way to support and target multiple platforms. This is all based on plugins. So when when your application starts, Qt tries to detect your platform, your desktop, and based on that, it detects what platform plugin or platform theme to use. Platform plugins are plugins which handle the windowing system. So if you run your application on X11, then XCV plugin, platform plugin will be used. When you run your application on Wayland, then Wayland platform plugin will be used. Then we have platform theme plugins. Those target the desktop, let's say. So if you run KDE, then KDE platform theme plugin will be used, and that plugin will try to read your KDE configuration and apply this configuration to the running Qt app. Then we have style plugins. Those are basically the widget style used in the application. And then there are also other plugins for printing network. So we have, for example, caps plugin for printing on Linux. For Windows, there's another one, and such. And if we go a little to the history, Qt actually has been trying to support GNOME. So I don't really remember times before Qt 4, but with Qt 4 and Qt 5 up to 5.7, there was a Qt GTK style. There was a style trying to make Qt widgets look like GTK. The way it was written, it was using GTK directly to paint all the widgets. And then we had Qt GTK2 theme, which was reading the GTK and GNOME configuration and applying them to Qt applications. But this was all GTK2 based. And since Qt 5.7, the GTK2 theme was ported to GTK3. And because nobody ported the Qt GTK style to GTK 3, it was moved or removed from Qt 5 to some extra plugins or something like that, because it cannot be combined. You cannot combine GTK 2 with GTK 3. And I think even for the GTK 3 theming, it was no longer possible to use it the same way how it was used with GTK 2. So we ended up with just Qt GTK 3 theme since Qt 5.7, which the only thing Qt GTK 3 does, GTK 3 theme does, just reads the configuration, which means what icons do you use, what font and such, applies them to your Qt application. But you didn't have the widget style and some other stuff I will mention later. So because of this, we started writing Qt GNOME platform, which just sort of the same thing as Qt GTK 3 theme, but we wanted to add some other stuff on top of that. So the key features of Qt GNOME platform, as I mentioned, the same stuff as Qt GTK 3 theme. We read your font, theme, icons, and we apply this to your Qt application. We have native dialogs for file chooser, color picker, and font picker. But the native dialogs are also in the Qt GTK 3 theme. But what's not in Qt GTK 3 theme, for example, we have Cinnamon support, because the way we read the configuration, we use G setting scheme, and Cinnamon uses some different one from classic GNOME. So we have support for that. And most importantly, we have support for Flatpak and Snap, because when your application runs in Flatpak or Snap, it's isolated from the system. So until some time ago, we had some access specified in the runtime that the Qt application can access dconf to read the configuration. But with portals, we no longer need that. So we have recently we added support for settings portal. So when your application, Qt application detects it runs either in Flatpak or Snap, it detects it's isolated. It talks to the portal, asks for all the configuration we need, and the portal will, depending on the backend, in GNOME, it will read your GTK GNOME configuration, and it will send it back to the application, and we can then apply it without needing some access specified in the runtime or in the application. And Qt GNOME platform is also available on Flathub. We made in our KDE runtime, we made extension points for all platform teams. So it should be, I think, when Flatpak detects you run GNOME, it automatically pulls in Qt GNOME platform as a plugin when you are installing any Qt application. And recently, what I was working on is support for Wayland, because GNOME supports only client-side decorations. So we had to implement them ourselves. So I was working on this. It still needs a lot of work, but what we do now, using the Qt GNOME platform, I can read GNOME configuration. I know the position of the close buttons, whether you use them or not, if they are positioned to the left or right. So I can read that using this platform theme, and I collecting this information, and then I'm trying to write the decoration which should look like Adwaita. There's still some work needed. For example, we don't have support for shadows, because this support is not even in Qt Wayland itself. I have some patches, but it still needs some work. My implementation of shadows doesn't really look great, so it's not something I want to publish yet. And then because platform theme is not enough to make your application really fit into the desktop. You need also widget style. So we have a project called Adwaita-qt. It's a Qt style. So it defines the look of your widgets. And we support both the light and dark version of Adwaita. Recently, I also added support for the new refreshed Adwaita theme because that changed with I think last release of GTK. The Adwaita theme changed, so we needed to refresh. So this is how the old Adwaita-qt looked like, and this is after the refresh, which should match the current Adwaita-qt theme. Here I have, for comparison, this is GTK application with the new Adwaita. So if you compare it, it's not really like perfect, but I think it's much closer than what we had before. And writing a Qt style is not a really simple process because the way you write it, you define every widget consists from multiple like basic objects. So when you want to, for example, paint a button, you define paint the rectangle, then you paint a shadow, and then you draw the text inside, and you do that for every single widget. So it's a really complex process. So it's not really easy, but I think we have been successful with this. And if we look to the future, so what I would like for GNOME platform to improve the Wayland situation, because we really need to. We are, as I said, we are missing support for shadows. So I would like to finish that and also add the support to Qt Wayland. And we even don't have the buttons animated. So if when your mouse over the button, you don't see any effect. So that I had this implemented, but then something in Qt Wayland changed, and that broke my implementation. So because there is no native support in Qt Wayland for this, so I will need to find a way how to implement this properly. And for Adwaita-qt, besides many fixes we still probably need to do to make it look more like current Adwaita. In future, we might want to add a style for QML components, because when we move to, let's say, mobile world, I expect most of the application will be written in QML because it's really simple and makes sense for the mobile. So we most likely will need Adwaita theme for QML components. And then next year, Qt 6 is probably going to happen. There's probably there are not going to be changes in the plugin infrastructure and the API and such. But what I would like to do for Qt 6 to move Qt GNOME platform and Adwaita-qt to be part of Qt itself, because right now it was fine to have it separated because I didn't have to go through all the reviews and follow the release cycle. But when we are like quite feature complete, it would be nice to move the plugins inside Qt itself. But the problem here is that the Adwaita-qt, because it's based on Plasma Breeze style, and that still has a GPL free license, and because of that we are not able to. We will need to relicense it first. So that means asking everyone who contributed to it to agree with the relicensing, and then we can probably move it to Qt, and then go through the review process and so on. And I guess that's it. And so if you have any questions.
So you mentioned native dialogs that and file dialogs among others. What about printing? Does this include GNOME printing dialog as well?
No, it doesn't include GNOME printing.
And if not, why not?
Because nobody implemented it. Because I'm mostly it's just me who does all these things. So there are really not other contributors. So doing all the work myself, it's a lot of work. So
I see. I appreciate it.
So I have to like choose what is a higher priority. Okay, I guess there are no other questions, so thank you.
Thank you very much.